Yo, once again it's on. Back at you one more again, Real Kens TV in the house like kitchen sinks. Hopefully you like the video. Feel free to comment, definitely share, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and be sure to hit that post notification so anytime I bring you this action, this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive it. Now with no further ado, let's get into this morning's video, if you will. It's approximately 12:28 a.m. Thursday morning, just getting off work. As you can see, it's my normal attire. I had a video, it was kind of like a fun video, but individual hit me up today, and people often hit me up. They call my phone, they text my phone, and I respond back. And I've left my number several times. Anyone need to just have someone to vent to, or individual just to listen, a listening ear, hey, feel more than free to hit me up, man. But this individual hit me up today, and I guess he just wanted to talk. He had some things on his mind, and I could tell that he was going through some things. He's going to be away from his family during the holidays. He's actually going through a stint in rehab. Former military guy, so, I definitely understand. I feel his pain. So I decided to share my story with him. Now, you all have heard bits and pieces of this story, but you've never really heard the full extent of the story. Now, before I begin, people have been hitting me up, sending me super thanks, things like that. I'm unable to retrieve that because my monetization isn't fully gone through yet. Like, I'm in the process of becoming monetized. So like the super chats, the super thanks, and things like that, I'm not exactly sure where it's going to. So people have been asking me to put my Cash App up. I'm not asking anybody to send me anything, but I mean, if you just insist, it's Kens 1000, $ Kens 1000. That's my Cash App. If you all just, decide to, hit me up or what have you, then that's what it is. If not, that's cool too. I'm definitely not asking, but people have been inquiring, and people have been sending me the super thanks and things of that nature. I'm just unable to fully accept. I believe I can accept them, but I just can't receive them yet until I'm fully monetized. So with that being said, there is a message. And I want to share this with this individual and just let everybody know that tough times don't have to last forever. I had a situation in which I was going through several years ago, and I was home. I was on parole. I'd been home maybe a year and a half, somewhere right around in that range. I was doing fairly well. I wasn't committing any crimes. I was working every day, and I worked at a restaurant. I had a choice of being a cook or a dishwasher. Well, when they offered me the cook's position, they were paying $13 an hour. But you offer me a position washing dishes for $12 an hour. I don't know if you all have ever been a cook, but it's very, very intense. Plus, I've never really been a cook like that anyway. So I chose to, wash the dishes. So I became a dishwasher. It was a great job for the simple fact that I liked everybody that worked there. And we literally could get as many hours as we wanted. I'm killing them on the overtime. It wasn't a week that I didn't work 60, 65 hours. Every single week. So I'm good. Everything's going well for me. One particular evening, I had been there all day long. I'm talking about I would come in on Sundays at 8 a.m. and oftentimes wouldn't leave until 10, 11 o'clock at night. Because Sunday was the last day of the pay period. So I'm trying to get all those hours in that I possibly could. You see what I'm saying? So I would stay all day long. This particular evening, it was about 7 o'clock. I hadn't had a break yet. So I tell Miss Joanne, she's one of the managers, along with, I believe the other guy's name was Tim. If it wasn't Tim, we're going to call him Tim today. You're going to be Tim today. So I inform them, I say, hey, I like to go take my break. And they're like, well, when the rest of the dishes are done, you can take your break. I said, well, there's other people in here washing dishes as well. I've been, 12 hours at it nearly, and I haven't had not one break. So we kind of go back and forth. I didn't think it was a big deal. Well, the next day, the schedules, I believe, would always come out on Tuesdays. There was no disrespect. It was nothing of any sorts. Schedules came out on Tuesday. Lo and behold, I'm not on the schedule anywhere. Now, mind you, I just said that I was working 60 plus hours every week. Wasn't on the schedule, not for one day. I go to Joanne and ask her. Of course, she doesn't have an answer. The guy's name was Kevin. It wasn't Tim. It was Kevin. I go to Kevin. He doesn't have an answer. So it was kind of like they were putting it on each other. I couldn't understand why I wasn't on the schedule. No one had an answer and couldn't tell me. I said, am I fired? Have I done something? I didn't know. About a week goes past. We're corresponding back and forth through email. The next week comes. I'm still not on schedule. But yet I'm not being fired. I haven't been terminated. No one can give me an explanation of why all of a sudden I'm not on the schedule. Third week goes past. I'm still not on the schedule. So as I'm corresponding back and forth with Kevin, he asked me, do I want to come back to work? I reply, yes, I would like to come back to work. I don't know why I haven't been at work anyway. What did I do? Like, could someone explain to me? I haven't received a write-up. I don't miss days. I don't call in. I take people's shifts. That's how I was able to accumulate so many hours weekly. I would just work. It didn't matter if you needed me to wash dishes. I was the bus boy some days, just anything to stay on the clock. I was glad to be working and actually out of the streets and doing right. Not doing any dirt. I worked so many hours, heck, I didn't have time. Time goes on. Another week goes past. They still don't put me on the schedule. At this point, it's been a whole month. Kevin basically tells me that I refused the direct order in a sense because they told me to finish the dishes and I was being insubordinate. I said, how was I being insubordinate? By law, you can only work someone so many hours before they're required to have a break. And I'm quite sure that working 11 straight hours was past that threshold. You know what I mean? As far as when I'm eligible to take a break. They still didn't put me on the schedule. They continuously told me he was going to put me on the schedule, but he never did. I go and seek a lawyer. The lawyer brings me in. I talk to him. I tell him exactly what happened. He tells me, okay, what you need to do is go ahead and file for unemployment. And I'm going to look, I'm going to look some things up and see if you actually, if we would actually have a case. I'm going to look some similar cases up. So I'm like, fine. Probably 3 or 4 days goes past. He calls me back in. He says, I can take your case. We're going to approach it from an angle of, retaliation. They retaliated against you because you asked for your break, which was your right, and they refused to give you your break, and because you said something, they retaliated against you by not putting you on the schedule, but yet not terminating you. I'm like, okay, cool. So I file for unemployment. I get the unemployment. My unemployment's coming in, but it's way, way less than what I was bringing in. Now, my attorney's telling me if you can, hold off on getting another job because we're going to hit them for retaliation. We're going to hit them for, we're going to sue them for lost wages. So if you're able to maintain off of your unemployment, do so. A case like this, we're going to keep it in state court instead of taking it to federal court. State court is $50,000 or less in Kentucky. Anything over $50,000 goes to federal court. So he was like, I think that the quickest outcome would be, state court. We're going to try to, we're going to aim for about $25,000 to $30,000. Cases like this, similar cases like this, have settled, in that range. That's when it all went bad. Because anyone that's dealt with, litigation, civil litigation, if you will, it doesn't happen overnight. So they're giving me these small offers. I believe the first offer was like $2,500. It was something crazy. Then it went to $3,500. So these were the type of offers that I was receiving. Because the court had to actually accept the lawsuit, initially. Once they accepted it, the restaurant knew that, they was going to have to come out of pocket because their lawyers were charging $450, $500 per hour. So it was getting very, very costly. It would become very costly the longer the case went on. So as that's going on, my personal life just begins to crumble. I began to go to the casino because I had time on my hand. I couldn't really work. So I had so much time on my hand. All my other friends, they were at work and doing their thing or whatever. So I began to go to the casino. The money that I had saved up dwindled away. The thing about the casino, I've won a lot of money at the casino. I've lost a lot of money as well. But this was years ago. But I'm painting a picture for you all so you can kind of have a understanding, if you will. I've won a lot of money at the casino, $70,000, $80,000 in a week and a half, 2 week span. And when you become accustomed to having that type of money, in the major scheme of things, that's not a lot of money, but it is a lot of money for, I didn't do any dirt to get it. As far as anything against the law, it's my money. I can do what I want to do with it. So, that was quite a lot of money for me at the time. And it was like I was always chasing that amount. So I didn't like the thrill of gambling. It wasn't the thrill of gambling. It was the thrill of that fast money. That was always my problem, the fast money part. I didn't give a damn about the thrill. My savings that I had quickly dwindled away. I had my own business prior to that. I had a landscaping lawn care business. Had it for like 4 years. I started putting my stuff in the pawn shop. Had nice mowers. Zero turn Cub Cadets. Had 2 of those. Had the big long trailer. All type of high-end carpet cleaning equipment. I heck, my truck. Some nice stuff. Thing about gambling, it's one of those things to where once you lose it, it's like, oh man, I gotta go get my money back. I can't just take that loss. Begin to put my stuff in the pawn shop. I never wanted to sell my stuff because in my mind, it was, I don't want to sell it. I'm going to win, and then I'm going to go get it back out. That's the irrational thinking. Unfortunately, I would lose, and the hole would become deeper and deeper and deeper. Had a whole lot of materialistic things that I was always able to get money from, as far as, putting it in the pawn shop. Got to the point I didn't really have much left to put into the pawn shop. Some months had passed. The restaurant was still, lowballing me. I couldn't take those small offers that they were $5,000 and $6,000 offers. I started borrowing money from people. You know, when I say money, I'm not talking about $50, $100. I'm talking, I was owing money out. All with the understanding that I was going to receive this money from the lawsuit. Had a 720 credit score. Good credit. Good credit. I maxed all my credit cards out. Gotten cash advances. Couldn't go to anyone for a loan because I already owed them. And it was a very bad time in my life. I never will forget, I was at the casino and I was tapped out. I was tapped completely out. Casino is about an hour and a half from where I live at. We don't have a casino here. Now, we do have slot machines. We do have, horse tracks. And, they have the sports betting that they just brought here. But they don't actually have table games. Well, at the time, I preferred table games. So I would ride to the casino, and you talking about a long, quiet ride home. Nothing. No music. I don't want to answer the phone. I don't want to talk to nobody. Nothing. I lost everything. So now my mind is, how am I going to get back? I get the wild idea one day. I'm trying to get back to the casino. I want to at least take $800 with me when I go to the casino. I write myself a couple checks. Deposit the checks into the ATM machine. In my mind, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to do the checks for $200 a piece, but I'm going to do it 4 different times. That way, worst case scenario, if they do try to charge me, which they shouldn't, because it's just overdrafting, my account. But worst case scenario, if they ever try to charge me, it's just a misdemeanor. Has to be over the $500 mark in order to be a felony. Write myself 4 checks. Go to the casino. I hit them. End up winning like $2,000. But out of that $2,000, I had to come back and put $800 back in the ATM machine. You see what I'm saying? To cover those checks. So now I have $1,200. But I have $1,200 and I'm like, okay, cool, I can work with that. I go. Exact same thing happens. I lose. I remember going to the bathroom and I'm like, wow, I don't want to do this again. I just paid them back. I do the exact same thing again. Back then, you could take pictures of the check and it automatically goes to your account. I did that because I was actually at the casino, so I couldn't, deposit anything into the actual ATM machine. I lost the initial $1,200. I do it again and lose the $800. I'm sick. The bank is sending me, I have so many days to bring my account back up to good standings. I believe it was 30 days or something like that. I don't know what I'm going to do. The unemployment that I'm getting, it's not nearly enough. I still have to survive. I have no savings account at this point. The bank eventually, closed my account down because I didn't pay it back in time. And when they closed my account down, I'm just thinking to myself, like, okay, I'll just pay it back. Over time, I'll pay it back. One day, I go and see my parole officer. Remember I told you I was still on parole. I go and see my parole officer. When I go and see the parole officer, they had switched me parole officer, so I had a new parole officer. I had never seen this lady a day in my life. So I was supposed to be there like, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. But something, I called her and asked her, could I show up at 5 o'clock? or later on rather. She told me to come in at 5. Cool. I walk in like everything's normal. They direct you. They walk behind you, and you have to walk, on the right side of the hallway. And they tell you go left, go right. Like a robot or something. When I walk into the room, her office, there's an officer standing there. He tells me, no need to sit down, Kens. Turn around, put your hands behind your back. I'm under arrest. I don't even know what I've done. At this point, this is some months later, as far as what I had done at the bank. She didn't even know. She knew that I had a warrant, but she wasn't telling me what my charges were. Come to find out, I didn't even know what I was being booked on. They got me for floating checks. I forgot the actual theft by deception or something like that. But they were misdemeanors. There were 4 misdemeanor counts, $200 a piece. The PO, she was like, well, it's not a felony, so I'm not going to violate you. As long as it's not a felony, I won't violate you. So I'm like, cool. I'm in jail. They're coming to bond me out the next day, I believe. My girl, they're coming to bond me out. But when they get downtown to bond me out, the bond had went from $1,000 to $5,000. I don't know what's going on at this point. There's a thing that they can do in the Commonwealth of Kentucky and probably a lot of other places. It's called aggregate your charges. When they aggregate your charges, they add the total amount up. And if it goes over the threshold of $500, which is a felony, they can make it a felony. So essentially, they took 4 misdemeanor charges, which shouldn't even have been misdemeanor charges. Typically, when somebody does that and they overdraft their account, they just shut their account down. But because me, that's my MO, and counterfeiting, and that's already my MO, and the detective hates my guts, and I guess my name is on the radar, he pursued the issue. It was personal with this detective. So he aggregates the charges, and they charged me with a single felony count. I can't believe it. My whole world is turned upside down. I'm going back and forth to court. I pay the money off. I pay the money off. I don't remember. I think I saved my unemployment, and then I think my girl helped me. I paid the $800 off. It ended up being like $1,100 with the fees or what have you. Everything was paid off. The detective still wanted to pursue the case. The prosecutor said, because I had an attorney, and the attorney was like, come on, y'all, this is ridiculous. Like, the man's paid it off. What can we do to, he shouldn't even be charged with anything. What can we do to just keep this as a misdemeanor? Prosecutor's like, well, I don't have a problem with it, but the detective, he has to agree to it. Obviously, he's not going to agree to it. He can't stand me. He's sitting there with a little smirk on his face. So they pursue the matter. I get indicted. They waive it to the grand jury. That's just the process. You get waived to the grand jury. The grand jury is a group of people. They preside over your case, the circumstances of your case, and they decide that if a crime possibly took place, then it can proceed on into circuit court, which is felony court. They indicted me. I'm going back and forth in circuit court. They're not going to drop my charges. I'm out on bond, but they're not going to drop it down to a misdemeanor. I'm on parole. Any sort of felony conviction sends me back to prison. I owe all of this money out. I'm still on unemployment. That's about to run out. I'm waiting on this lawsuit, but that's taking forever. I get the wild idea one day to take my truck to one of those title loan places. They keep your title, you keep the vehicle, you make your payments, everything's cool. I could have gotten a significant amount for my truck. I'm not gonna say significant, but I went and borrowed $1,000. I could have got way more than $1,000. It was a Nissan Xterra. Nice truck, low mileage, well kept, nice truck. Of course, I lose $1,000. I make a couple payments, but I fall behind on the payments because the payments were like significant. Once again, that irrational thinking, I'm thinking I'm gonna go in, pay this off, pay the their little fees or whatever, get my title back, and everything's gonna be all good. After all, I've won $70,000-80,000 before, the span of a week and a half, 2 weeks. It's my mind, I'm talking to myself. I fall behind on my truck. Unemployment runs out. Have no money coming in. Have nothing. I'm playing lottery every day, man, just hoping, $3 or $4 every day, just hoping that I can hit. I'm literally hiding my truck because I know that the people are looking for the truck. One day, I come home, and instead of parking it in the spot that I normally park it at, like I didn't park it in front of the apartment building, but I parked it, relatively close. I park it on the street. Lazy. I didn't feel like walking as far, because it was cold outside and I didn't feel like walking as far. Well, I ended up getting sick. So I had like a little cold or something like that. So my truck is parked on the street, and my girl's telling me, baby, you better go move your truck. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go get it. That third day, I walked outside to go get in my truck. There was no truck. Truck was gone. They had found my truck. And I act like I'm surprised as though, like I didn't know that they were looking for my truck. So now my truck is repoed. I call them. They only give me like 7 days. You can come up with the money. Then we'll give you your truck back. I'm tapped out. All my credit cards are maxed. I can't get no loans, no credit, no nothing. Very down moment in my life. Very, very, very painful time in my life. Not only had I lost everything, but the realization that I was going to go to prison was setting in. I never will forget, my lawyer calls me and he tells me that, the people were offering like 18 grand. And that was probably the best that it was going to, best it was going to be. Best it was going to get, rather. The initial goal was 25 to 30,000. Offered me 18,000. He was taking like a third, a little bit over a third actually, with all his filing fees and things like that. So I believe when it was all said and done, I was going to end up with like 11,000, 11 and some change. We agreed to it. About a week or so, the check came in. He called me. I got the check. Paid a couple people back. Left me with about 7,000. Truck was already gone at that point. Had about 7 G's. What do? Take a guess. Take about 2,000 with me, roughly. Lose that. Take another couple thousand, lose that. I had done some things, my daughter was about to go to college at the time, and, I'd gotten her straight, and, I had done some things with the money, but that entire $7,000 that I had left, gone. I was so disgusted with myself, so disappointed with myself. In the meanwhile, the lawyer's telling me, the best deal I can get you is 2 years. That's the best. They're not going to come down anymore. I was adamant I wanted to go to trial and explain myself. But it's very difficult to do that for the simple fact that they're going to bring up my entire criminal history. It's my MO. So they're going to say that this was absent of mistake. This couldn't have been a mistake. You did this intentionally. This is what you do. And they was going to hit me with a sentence enhancement. So Instead of getting 2 years, I probably would have ended up with a minimum of 10 on top of the parole, the backup time that I already had. I was forced to take this 2-year deal. Now, the realization, rather, of me taking the 2-year deal was, you know, it was a no-brainer. I had to take it. I hadn't taken it yet, but the time was coming to where I had to make a decision. You know, you go to court and you get your lawyer to put it off as many times as he possibly can, but at some point the judge wants to know, okay, look, we're going to trial, we're going to, you know, we have other cases on the docket, we need to go on and wrap this thing up. So I'm dealing with that. How am I going to tell the kids? How am I going to tell my mama? Nobody knows. My girl knows. We're struggling financially. I've put us in such a bind financially. She's struggling. She's not feeling well. She has some things that were medically going on with her. And she had to move at the time because the lease was up. I only have a couple weeks before I have to go back to court for final sentencing. So I know that once I go, to final sentencing, it's over. I'm going to prison. I never will forget one night we got into it. We were riding and I don't know, we just got into it about something. And I got out of the car. I used to have a habit of, let me out. And I would walk home no matter where we were at. I got out of the car and I just walked. I just took off walking. We were downtown, probably lived a good 6 or 7 miles from downtown. I walked. I stopped at the liquor store. I got me a half pint or something. I'm not even a big drinker. And, you know, I did pour it in a cup. I wasn't just walking down the street with a, you know, half pint in my hand, but essentially I was, because it was in a cup. And I hit like a highway part. It's kind of like a highway part. It's maybe about a stretch of about 1.5 miles. And I'm walking. And I just have tears streaming down my eyes. It's probably about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. And a car comes past me. And he stops and he pulls over. So when he pulls over, I don't even care who it is. I don't even care. I'm just walking. And the car starts to back up. And I hear somebody, Kens, is that you? And I look and I see it was my good buddy. I see that it's one of my best friends in the whole world. I probably owe him $2,000. I was supposed to pay him back when I got my money from the lawsuit. I had given him like $500, but I owed so many people. So instead of me doing what was right and saying, here, forget, you know, my needs, here's your money. Very understanding friend. I mean, we've exchanged thousands of dollars over the years, you know, but he was like, man, get in the car, man. I got in the car. And I just couldn't, like I said, tears was already coming down my eyes. I just couldn't, and I don't cry very easily. And I was just so disappointed. I'm just like, man, I'm sorry, dog. I know I disappointed you, man. I got this going on. I got that going on. He said, man, we'll work. Don't even worry about the money. We'll work it out, man. I'm not. And so he took me home. I went in the house and, you know, I just really had some things on my mind, and I was just thinking like, man, this is the bottom of the barrel. You know, I didn't want to go back to prison. I did not want to go back to prison. All type of things ran through my mind. I could run, but where am I going to run? Where am I going to go? Then that's just going to add more time because they're going to hit me with bail jumping. That's what happens when you don't go back to court. They'll hit you with bail jumping, with a sentence enhancement, so it's another 10 years that I would have added on. I really was contemplating. You know, that night when I'm I'm going to rewind a little bit. That night when I was walking, there was a bridge. Now, I'm not going to say that I definitely was going to jump off the bridge. I'm not going to go as far as that. But it definitely crossed my mind. I feel like I had nothing to live for. Nothing. I had lost everything. Everything. And lo and behold, my good buddy, his name is W3. Shout out to W3. Just happens to pull up 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. He hadn't seen me. I had been kind of avoiding his calls. And out of all people, he just happens to pull up. And seeing me walking, he recognized me from seeing me walk. He seen me from behind. Pause. Double pause. And I often wonder, was he the person that stopped me from jumping off that bridge? I don't know. I ended up going to court. I got sentenced that day. It pained me to leave. I mean, my girl was in bad shape. She was in bad shape. Financially, physically. Like I said, she had to move. And I couldn't be there to help. She was trying to be strong for me. But because I put myself in this situation, here we go again. Find myself back in prison, catching a charge on parole. I know I'm going to be gone for a minimum of probably 2 years, and that's if I'm lucky. It was the bottom of the barrel. I got to jail. Nobody really knew. Once my mom found out, she was so lipped, she wasn't even talking to me anymore. My daughter, she wouldn't talk to me. Nobody came to visit me. Nobody was writing me. Nobody would accept my calls. My girl, but she could only do so much financially. I was just in there. I feel like I didn't have a friend in the world. Literally was just in jail. She did the best she could do, send me a little money here and there for commissary or whatever. I owed my mom so much money. My stuff was still at the pawn shop at this point. But it was about to be, I was going to lose it. So I rode home. I told my mom what was going on. They went and got my stuff out of the pawn shop. My sister and them. And they got all my equipment out. And, they ended up selling it to get their money back. And then, some of the money that I owed them. So everything that I had, at least I didn't lose it to the pawn shop. But it's just a terrible situation that I put myself and my family in. Even with that being said, I did my time. Some things happened while I was locked up. Right when I was supposed to get out, I had a couple months before, I was going up for parole. I got into a fight. Let my temper get the best of me. The young dude kept running his mouth. So I had to, make him touch everything in the room. And it wasn't worth it. They sent me to prison. Because at this point I was at like a little minimum security camp. They sent me to prison. Caught a write-up. I seen the parole board. Luckily, they only gave me another 9 months. My father passed away during that time. They called me up to security one day. I don't know what's going on. I'm thinking I'm in trouble because I've been running poker games. Knowing that I shouldn't be running poker games. She had already told me, the director, if I catch you gambling, then you're going to prison. I ain't give a damn. Send me to prison. I'd rather be in prison anyway. That was my mentality. They called me up to security one day. I noticed I had been sleeping a lot. This is no joke. I had been sleeping a lot. Probably about a week prior to them calling, and I couldn't understand why I was so tired. So I'm sitting in the room. I don't know why I'm up at security. I'm thinking I'm in trouble. Lady comes in. She said, your sister called up here, and it was like 3 days ago. She was like, your sister called on Thursday, and this was like a Monday or something. So 3-4 days or whatever, and sorry to tell you that your father's passed away. Like, my father passed away? What? When did he get sick? Like, what happened? I knew he had been in and out of the hospital, but it wasn't, anything significant that I knew of. Well, I'm the third, so it just blew my mind. Couldn't go to the funeral. Couldn't do anything. Couldn't, call and talk to anybody. Really, it was just an awful, awful situation. And I say all of that to say, even through all my trials and tribulations that I was going through, that I put myself through, and I put my family through, the one thing that I had was my Heavenly Father. And I know everybody has different beliefs. I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to, but me, I believe in Jesus Christ. And man, I was in my book. I was in my Bible. And I didn't pray to get out. Because what's the use of getting out when you're going to do the same thing and come right back in one more time? I prayed for a better heart, for wisdom, for guidance, to keep myself out. Not to get out, but Lord, when I do get out, give me the strength to do the right things to stay out. So this individual that I'm talking to, I know that you're going through some things right now. You're in the rehab. Hey, I'm proud of you. Because no one's making you stay in that rehab. So you're going to be away from your family for Thanksgiving. But guess what? Look at it like this. If you buckle down, I know it's difficult. You buckle down, do what you need to do. Just think of all the Thanksgivings that you have to come. Beautiful family, beautiful wife. She stuck by your side. You all been married for 25 years, I believe. So yeah, you may be away, but just think about all the times that you won't be away. And I'm proud of you. And that's why I wanted to share my story. Because with everything that I said that I went through, once I got in that book real tough at Bible, guess what happened? My mom just shows up on visit one day with my daughter. And she started putting a little money on the phone so I could call and talk. And then things just gradually started getting better for me. The communication, the door of communication was open. My girl started coming back around more. Things started getting better for her. And that feeling of hopelessness that I had, I didn't feel that way anymore. I felt a sense of, I had a purpose. I feel like I had a reason to be here. A reason to live. A reason to, I had a purpose on this earth. Sure, I made plenty of mistakes. Plenty. But one thing for certain and two things for sure, I've seen a lot of dudes that wish they had a do-over button. Wish they had done things differently. A lot of dudes in them penitentiaries that you grew up with and haven't seen in years, they in the pen, man. They in the pen. Never coming home. And if they do, they're going to be so old that, and I was given another chance. Yeah, I wasn't out here robbing people. I wasn't out here killing. I never proclaimed to be no gangster. I never proclaimed, I had to handle my business a couple times, when I was younger, but it wasn't anything like that, you know? And it's just one of those things to where now, when y'all see me, people ask me all the time, why do you always have your work clothes? Because I'm always at work. I work as much as I can. Any opportunity that I get, I'm at work. I know I don't have the best job in the world, but hey, I'm out, healthy, I work, an honest living. I don't do anything wrong, nothing. Nothing. I don't take no chances. You know, I have my own car, place to stay, you know, so these are the things I have, and I have a plan. Most importantly, I have a plan. Do I want to work at Papa John's forever? No. But for right now, that's where I'm at. Been here for a few years, or a couple years. I ain't gonna say a few years. It'll be 3 years, but nevertheless, a steady job, and I'm just building. You know, sometimes you got to go back to the bottom. You definitely gotta go back to the bottom sometimes. I like my job. I have peace of mind. People's cool. They don't look down on me in my job. You know, they know my situation, and it's, you know, I like it. I like what I do. Obviously, I don't want to do it forever, so I just want to let you know, just anybody that's going through anything, never look at yourself, never look down on yourself, never feel like I'm not good enough, this person's better than me. Man, your situation can definitely change, and it can get better, and it will get better, but you got to find your higher power, whoever your higher power may be. It starts there. Then you got to look yourself in the mirror and understand that you put yourself in that situation, and understand not only that you're in that situation, but you have to understand how you got in that situation, what led to this. And once you do that, I promise you, everything will be all good. Man, I ain't been in prison in years. I don't get in no trouble. I don't, you know, my friends, they say change people, places, and things. Well, fortunately for myself, my friends, I didn't really hang around a whole lot of people that, you know, indulged in illegal activity. So I didn't have to change my friends. Really didn't have to change my places. I did what I did simply because I did what I did. Every once in a while I bet on a little game. I ain't gonna lie to you, but it's nothing like it used to be. Casinos and all that stuff, man, that stuff is a trap. That stuff is a trap, man. And it took everything that I had. But guess what? That experience that I had, that I gained, it's priceless. See, materialistic things, you can get them back. I'll get those things back tenfold. Not really worried about it. I'll get those things back eventually. And I believe sometimes with my YouTube channel, and I'm not even gonna, sometimes I get a little frustrated because I see my videos and I know that I'm pouring my heart into them, and people tell me, which I don't get big-headed, but people tell me they like my videos or whatever, and I look up and I have 60, 70 views, you know, in 2 or 3 days. But guess what? That's just God's, you know, I look at it as God is telling me, slow down, I got you. But we're going to work on your patience a little bit. I can't just give it all to you. You know, I've only had my channel for 7 months at this point. I can't just give it all to you. But in due time, you're going to have it. So I'm just paying my dues. I understand that eventually, hopefully, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And things will take off for me. But like the great Jay Williams was telling me, shout out to Jay Williams, bro, you doing better than, hell, you was doing better than what I was doing. He said it took me a solid year before my channel really took off. He told me that. He said at about the year mark, at the 1 year mark, I had about 800 subscribers. He said, and I was getting small views, you know, here and there I get, you know, a nice amount, but I wasn't getting a whole lot of views. It wasn't until I had that one video and it just took off. He was like, so for you to have, 2,000 subscribers at the 7-month mark, man, that's excellent. So you can't get down on yourself. You can't compare what everybody else is doing. Worry about what you're doing. Like my granddaddy used to tell me, just worry about what you're doing. You can't worry about what the Joneses is doing, because the Joneses have your ass in penitentiary. Now, that's figuratively speaking, but I mean as far as trying to do everything that they do. The story about Michael Jordan, and he used to gamble a whole lot at the casinos, and Antoine Walker, who's a former NBA player that came from the University of Kentucky, he used to go to the casino along with Paul Pierce. They, at the time they were playing for the Boston Celtics. Somehow they would link up with Michael Jordan, and so I guess it was the off season, and they would try to keep up and go to the casino with Mike. Well, Mike can go to the casino and lose $1 million. So they continuously kept trying to keep up with Mike, Antoine Walker rather, and he ended up going broke. And he ended up catching a felony because he wrote like $900,000 worth of bad checks to the casino and couldn't cover them. So the point of me making, using that example or analogy, if you will, is not to make Antoine Walker look bad, because he's since turned his life around and he's been an inspiration to a whole lot of people and kids, and just telling his story. He tried to keep up with Mike and he couldn't do that. You have to worry about you and what you're able to do. These cars and we all want nice things. We all want nice things. But if you only bring in so much money, don't try to go get you a Range Rover when your payment's going to be $2,000 a month. You see what I'm saying? Knowing that you can barely make that $2,000 a month payment, but you want to look nice. No, we can't do that. Worry about that's my biggest thing. I have to worry about me as far as what I can handle. So anybody that's going through something, hopefully you take this story and you think about what real Kens went through. And I've since turned my life around drastically. Eventually I'm going to get to the point to where I can go and start talking to kids, motivating people, and just sharing my story with them. My story is far from over. Far from over. If you're going through something right now, higher power. Understand, for myself, Lord, I can't do this. I can't do this by myself. Because if I could, I would. Understand that you're dealing with something that's greater than you. Addiction is powerful. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, fast money, it's all addiction. It's all in your mind. It's all in your brain. It's all in your, it's a rush. It's a, I don't want to get into the whole, like we in NAAA. But it's real. It's real. Do the right thing. You're going to have some slip-ups. Slip-ups count. So understand that. Don't allow yourself, well, you know what, I've been doing well for, 6 months. I'm going to go have me a little fun today because I've been doing so well. No, because that could drastically turn your whole life around. Don't be like Kens, man, and lose everything. Do the right thing. When you see yourself slipping, call your sponsor, whoever you need to call. Call somebody. Call me. 859-551-5122. 859-551-5122. People call me all the time. No joke. Text me, call me, whatever. It doesn't even matter. I've spent so much of my life doing wrong, my adult life. I want to give back and help people. That's my purpose. I want to literally give back and help people. And anything that I can do to help somebody, I'll do it. Because I consider you all as friends and family on my YouTube, channel. Like, there's a lot of people that hit me up now, and I know their names personally, just because I'm used to those certain people commenting on my stories. I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you, dog. You know who I'm talking to. If you watch this video rather, I'm proud of you, man. Stay and hang in there. I know you said you're in Florida. Great weather. Hang in there, man. You'll be back with your family when the time is right. You want to get back and be all the way right. You're going to be all right, man. You're going to be okay, man. You reach out to me a whole lot. You're going to be okay, man. And everybody else that's going through something, understand that you're going through something and you don't want to continue to live that way. And guess what? You're going to be okay just as well. I promise you. Man, if I could turn my life around, I was a knucklehead. I felt like I'm not out here robbing nobody, killing nobody, hurting anybody, but I couldn't stand banks. I wanted to tear their ass up. Any opportunity I got, and I'm talking about this wasn't small money. In my heyday, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, I'm hitting their ass. Pause. But at the end of the day, what did it end me up? Away from my family, my kids, my loved ones. People was passing away. I'll say this in closing. I was in prison one time. One of the several times I was unfortunately in prison. And I went to the library one day. And they have like the hometown newspaper. They have like all the newspapers. I was probably a good 5 hours away. And I opened up the newspaper. I never will forget this. I opened up the newspaper. I told the parole board this story and got out too. When I opened up the newspaper, I kid you not, it went straight to the obituary section. It wasn't intended. I just, how you grab the newspaper and you open it. It was a long time ago, so this was when newspapers were still rather, popular, which I believe they still are in prison. But nevertheless, it went straight to the obituary section. I looked down, and I seen my name in the obituary. My exact name in the obituary. My mind just froze for a second. It's like everything just went like null and void, if you will. Everything around me. Because I'm looking at my name in the obituary. For a few seconds, I forgot that I was the third. My grandfather had passed away. But we have the exact same name, middle name and everything. The only difference is my dad's the second. It's a junior, and I'm the third. Messed my whole world up. To see that. To see your name in the obituary. Lost a lot of people locked up due to my selfishness and foolishness. And I said no, and I'm not going to do it again. Slip-ups count, especially if you're already a felon. Real Kens TV. Hopefully you like the video. Feel free to comment, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to hit that post notification. So anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive. Again, I'm proud of you, bro. Anybody out there that's trying to change their life, trying to turn their life around, and it's hard for them right now, and you feeling like you don't have a reason to live, and you at rock bottom, man, there's nowhere to go but up. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. But you got to turn to your higher power and understand that you can't do it on your own. You can't do it on your own. And when you do that, and in time, you start to see things gradually get better for you. I promise you, man. Real Ken said it. Till next time.